All right, well, welcome everybody to the S Collective podcast. My name is Kurt Smith. I'm one of the co-founders here at the S Collective, and today's a really special day for me, being in the industry that I've been in for a long time. We have our guest speaker, Jason Rose. He's the Global Director of Training for Rupes North America. Jason, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I like that van you got outside, by the way. You want to tell me about
the
it?
soccer man,
The
soccer mom
yeah,
van.
yeah, it's fantastic.
It's every detailer's favorite, right?
Did you polish it before you showed up?
No.
Okay.
It's a
All right.
rental.
So it's exciting to have you here. I've been following you for many years and been to numerous trainings that you've had. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a minute and telling the audience a little bit about your background, what got you into the industry, who you work for. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so I've been with Rupes. This will be my 10th year, which is crazy. It's gone by really fast. But Rupes is a global company, so I'm a global director of training. That's my official title. But the other hat I wear is I'm also on the product development team. So any of you out there that have used the Rupes system, those were projects that I was involved in. So the compounds and pads, I'm not electrical or mechanical engineer, so I don't do much with the tools. We have a team of engineers for that, but the compounds and pads I'm pretty intimately involved in. So those are two things I do. I coordinate our two global training centers. We have one in Milan, Italy, and another one in Denver, Colorado.
It's a lot of developing of new products and constant innovation, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're constantly innovating. It's a full-time job of many people. So
what brought you into detailing? You for myself and my team, we consider you kind of the GOAT, right? I don't know how you feel about that term, but your name has resonated in this industry for years, right? Your name constantly gets brought up. First off, you're extremely professional. You're dialed in. You know materials. You know paint. So tell me just briefly, what did that look like when you were younger? Was it just a passion for making paint look better like it was for me? How did you get from where you were to where you are?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. I've been doing this over 30 years, and I've never settled into that role, that people put me in. It's a bit uncomfortable, but I'm happy to help a lot of people.
So.
Huh?
I said, in this house, you're the GOAT. So.
Well, so I think my start is similar to a lot of detailers, the way they started. And so you've started this podcast with one of my least favorite topics, by the way. I don't enjoy talking about myself. But where it started was, parents' cars. My dad and my mom wanted me to clean their car in the driveway. So I was at a very young age, I started cleaning cars. And that evolved to waxing cars, and then that evolved to, more invasive things like paint polishing and detailing a car. So it started with the family cars. And then neighbors took notice, and they started throwing money at me, and that got my attention. As it
generally does.
As a young kid, I was like, wow.
I can make money at this.
And I enjoyed it so much that I couldn't believe they were throwing money at me. But so it was the neighbors' cars, and then going into college, I started a business for the purpose of financing college, which it did very well. I had a 12-year mobile detail business in Southern California. And, as you know, Southern California, you can detail year-round and no problem. And it was a great business for a college student. It was awesome. I could schedule my day and my week. And I made more money than my friends had. And I had nicer cars than them. I was traveling even in college. And it just was a really good moneymaker for me.
So what would you say kind of led you to maybe phasing that part of your career out and walking into more of a training role?
Well, that happened after I graduated college, and I sold my business. I sold it to an employee, actually. And I thought I was heading off into the world, into my future with the area that I was educated in, which was psychology. So I was a psych major with a minor in human services. So I did 6 years of college, and I graduated and did what I thought I was supposed to do, and that was get out of cars and go do psychology stuff. And I did 6 months of that and decided I didn't want to do that.
Well, cars and people go hand in hand, right? So maybe it was good that you got that
Well, I'm sure
degree.
that daily I still use a lot of psychology, but I didn't want to get into the business of, counseling and psychotherapy and things like that. I had a lot of passion for it, but I quickly learned that the business side of helping people was not good, and I didn't want to do that. And I enjoyed cars, so I worked 6 months into it and I said, nope, that's not for me. Then I got back into cars, and at that time is when I moved here, actually. I moved from California to Dallas.
Yeah, didn't you support or work with one of our existing accounts?
Oh, yeah. I worked with some of your customers, but there was a local distributor here in Dallas, and I worked with them for 3 years distributing car care products to car dealerships and detailers and body shops and things like that. So I was that guy driving the van around and dropping off 5-gallon pails of tire shine to people.
Couldn't leave the industry.
No. So I put my dues in there, and I knew I was paying my dues. It's not something that I was, looking to do, but I knew I was paying my dues. That got people's attention because the distributor was a Meguiar's brand. You might have heard of that brand. So the Meguiar's distributor in Dallas, it somehow got the attention of the corporate office in California. So I moved back to California and joined Meguiar's in 1996. And I was with them for 20 years.
Wow.
And that's when I got into training. So at that point.
So that's where you kind of honed your craft, so to speak, your skills.
And I got into product development, which interesting how that started because I just complained about product performance enough that
Somebody did something
said,
about it.
All right, big mouth. You complain so much, now you get to work on it. So I began working on it. I'm not a chemist, but I work with chemists, and the thing I bring to the table on product development is, as a detailer, you're probably the best voice you can give to a chemist because you've been there and you've been on cars and
It's kind of like a race car driver, right? So, the engineers and the team put together the car, and then it's the driver input and the driver feedback that allows the car to perform at a different level, and the engineers get to dial that in. So, in essence, think of yourself as a driver,
as
right?
a race car driver.
So, wouldn't we all like that?
Yeah.
So, kind of along that path, for my team always calls it kind of the JRT, the Jason Rose technique, right? So, tell me about like innovation that you've been a part of, whether it be on your own or kind of as you were alluding to the product and development side, and then what Rupes is really known for. If you wouldn't mind sharing with us what that kind of looks like.
That's an interesting question. I've been blessed with a career where I've been involved on teams developing products that have become globally, popular. But I think the biggest innovation contribution that I've made is early in developing compounds at Meguiar's. We decided to try and go out of the box. You've heard that phrase, thinking out of the box. But we went out of the normal pantry of ingredients that companies have thrown into compounds. And we had a moment in time where we were like, let's go out of that pantry. Let's try other things. So we tapped into abrasives that were actually used in other industries, like the medical industry or the optics industry.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And once we started doing that, we were able to come up with products that were just dramatically different in performance than the previous generation.
So there was kind of a standard for, let's call it decades, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then it was really, I think that's what makes the detailing industry really cool, along with the automotive industry, is you pull technology from other industries or aerospace or whatnot, and to develop things that work really well with paint, right?
Yeah.
Or vehicles or whatnot.
So we found, early on we found abrasive ingredients that were used in, have you heard of parabolic chambers in the medical industry?
Yeah.
So that equipment is actually polished, in the manufacturing process of the equipment. So that whole chamber is polished. And they used abrasives in that process that I pulled, and that became the basis of quite a few actually products at McGuire's that were cutting edge, pun intended there. So some of those products were just born out of, hey, let's grab abrasives from another industry. And then probably the other most notable thing that I was able to contribute to was the microfiber correction system at McGuire's.
In what way did you contribute to microfiber?
Well, microfiber towels had existed before, and it isn't credited to me, the inventor of the microfiber pad, using microfiber on a polishing pad, is a friend of mine in Canada, Claude Sauvigny. He's the guy I would...
I met Claude.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, not too many people know him, but I would credit him. He's the real inventor. He actually fabricated pads on a microfiber, and he used them at the car factories. That was the very first place. And he showed it to me, and I learned that there was some potential there. All I did is take his invention. I made a compound to specifically work with microfiber. That was my contribution. And so with his microfiber pad and the compound that we made that works with microfiber, we created a system. And then, as you know now, that's like still a standard today.
Right. We use it here. So.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, so how long has Rupes been around?
So the company is in a third generation. It's family owned, but 1947.
Wow, 1947.
Yeah.
So making tools
A long time.
for not only detailing, but body shop, right?
Oh, many industries actually. There's
Okay.
Yeah.
You want
lots
to
of
elaborate on that?
Yeah,
real quick.
dust extraction vacuum for body shops, but also industrial woodworking, marine, aviation, automotive. And then there's also a business in low voltage pipeline building. I didn't even know it was a thing, but there's equipment that these guys that build pipelines, they're out in the middle of nowhere, but they still need power and they still need tools. So now Rupes makes all those low voltage tools that are run from generators. So.
Well, we like to refer to ourselves as artisans, right? As detail guys. Some people scoff at that and joke, but I think if you really are passionate about anything, you're an artisan, right? You're a craftsman. So for us, having the Rupes tool line in our bag, so to speak, we equate it to the Ferrari of tools. That's kind of the joke around here.
Yeah.
They perform well. They're easy to use. It's like having a chef having a fine knife, right? So, going back to your being a global trainer, you get to travel all over the world. Do you not?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite place or a place you've been to recently? And then, in that place, is there a car culture that's vastly different or uniquely the same as what we have here in the States? Eddie, do you have a fun place that you've been to recently? And then what does the car culture look like?
I have lots of places I enjoy. It's interesting. Most of my life and my career has been, you take 30 days out of a month, and half of that month I'm gone somewhere, either domestically or internationally. And there's lots of places I really enjoy going to, but I hate the travel. I don't like airports. I don't like airplanes.
I'm with you.
But I do have teams of people wherever I go that have become friends. So I feel like I'm going to visit my friends when I go to work in different places. And it's awesome to have that, network of friendship.
That camaraderie.
And that's amazing. But I do have, I like Southeast Asia, Philippines, Thailand. I also enjoy working in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good team down there, but it's also I'm an outdoor recreationist also, so the being outdoors and in beautiful outdoorsy places. I enjoy that.
So what's the car culture like in those other countries?
Well, Southeast
they have
Asia,
the same kind of
I think
pride that we do here.
there's passion in cars everywhere. I've noticed it everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere you go, there's passion in cars. South America, especially, man, the passion's off the chart. They are just crazy about their cars down there. Southeast Asia, there's people really, really, really into their cars. So I think everywhere I've gone, I don't think I've been anywhere where there wasn't a car culture, where there was not enthusiasm for cars. Now, some areas is more developed than others, and
And what would you say is like in those car culture or areas of the world that you've been a part of? What is is it more focused on detailing? Is it more body shop related? Do you find that there's a large difference in education or product knowledge between maybe Southeast Asia versus the U.S.?
Now that is
where does people's focus generally lie?
I do see a difference in that. So although I see passion in car culture everywhere, I do see a difference in exactly what you mentioned. So, and I believe it's tied to labor rates. So, for example, Western Europe, Northwestern Europe, very, very high labor rates. So people are expensive. The average worker is expensive relative to other, per hour rates. So consequently, in those areas, detailers are considered more professional. They're actual real deal. It's the opposite of what you see in some other countries like India, where labor rates are very, very low. A detailer has to work very, very hard to be recognized as a professional because their whole culture, they think of that guy as just that's the guy
just
wiping
labor.
down the car,
Right.
So big, big differences in that respect, huge differences. And I do believe it's tied to labor rates.
All right, I got to ask, in those other countries, anything weird you've had to eat or a favorite food?
Oh, there's places I won't
I knew
eat.
I could get to something here. So
So much so in India that I don't like that food at all, since I have a team of trainers, I can actually delegate the requests we get. So when people say, hey,
So just tortillas and rice?
We need a training in India, I'm like, cool. Fabrizio, you're going to India. So I've actually at a point where I don't have to put myself in that situation where I have to eat food I don't like.
All right.
I don't
fair
like
enough.
China either for that respect because I'm just not into Chinese food. But I just send other people.
In recent favorite places, what would you, if you could put a dot on the map, what would you say is one of your favorite places to train or work with?
Favorite places to train? I
know you mentioned New Zealand. I've been to Australia, so I'm kind of familiar.
Yeah.
Even though they don't really, the Kiwis and the Aussies don't really like each other.
I know, it's
right?
weird.
There's a weird thing there. But is there a favorite place? I know some of our staff would like to go to Japan or other parts of the world, and I've been fortunate to spend some time in Europe, which, for the record, for our audience, you won't find a dirty car in Germany. It doesn't exist. They don't smoke. They don't have bad tires. Every car is clean. So
there's a
just something
culture
I
of
picked
cleaning.
up on.
Yeah, and it's not just Germany. I mean, it's the
whole
that
European,
region,
Swiss,
Scandinavian countries are that way. They're all about their cars being clean. Favorite place? So for different reasons, I have two favorite places. So I love Switzerland. I love going there to train. I don't get to do it that often, but when I do, it tends to be one of my favorites. And why? Because the detailing culture there, they are ultra professional, and they're really into their craft, and they genuinely want to learn better, better and faster. They want to learn efficiency. They want to learn quality. So the draw, the energy that they're just so eager to learn good practices. So I love the Swiss for that reason. And I have friends, I have really good friends in Switzerland. The other place is the Philippines. I love training there, but for a different reason. They're also very passionate, but the training events tend to be larger. And I'm not a fan of big training events. If you got 100 plus people,
Holy smokes, really? 100 plus people?
oh no, it's easy. A small class in the Philippines is 100 people.
Wow.
So, and my company obviously loves that. They love these big 100, 200 people events, you know, because you got some bean counter looking at the cost of flying
how
to
much
Philippines.
each training is.
And, you know, here's 200 people that you're talking to. Oh, that must be better. And I don't agree as a trainer. I think the best quality training is a smaller group, 12 people or less.
Yeah, the times I've been fortunate to be a part of your classes, or you know, even 3 years ago when I brought our team out, I think it was 10 people at most. And that intimate setting really gives kind of one-on-one time. And I think you're right. I think from a trainer, my background is in training as well.
Yeah, right.
So, anytime you can captivate an audience where you don't have people talking in the back, if you've got 100 to 200 people, it's a little bit more challenging. But with a smaller, intimate setting, I think you get more one-on-one time.
I enjoy that more, but obviously companies want you to have bigger crowds.
Sure.
My favorite classes are 6 people or less, and those are more advanced at my academy. Like my most advanced class, we cap it at 6 people. And I really enjoy those classes.
Is that the advanced paint correction and sanding class?
Yeah. So.
Well, tell me a little bit about, we know kind of what you do at Rupes, but how do you ensure that you guys are staying on kind of the forefront of detailing innovation? Like, what is Rupes doing and looking at annually to say, hey, we're going to continue to make the best tools, pads, compounds, polishes, We're constantly reinventing the wheel, so to speak, in this industry. Right? So, like, how do you guys really just stay on the edge of that and say, hey, the reason we're the best is because of X, Y, Z?
Well, one perfect example is why I'm here in Dallas with you right now.
Why are you here in Dallas this week?
So this is a perfect example of us staying in tune and connected with our end users. So I have a team of people here in Dallas who we've been here all week, and we've been just visiting a whole bunch of body shops. And we've been analyzing, we've been gathering data, we've been observing, we've been asking questions. It wasn't a sales blitz like some people thought we were blitzing, but we weren't. We were gathering intel, and that is one of the ways that we stay sharp, and the way because before you develop a product or before you develop a procedure or a system, you need to understand what the current user is doing right now, and you also need to understand where are the opportunities for optimizing efficiency. And the only way to know that is you got to get right in the middle of people doing the thing, and you just got to watch them, and you got to ask questions, and why do you do that, and how come you do that? And
where do you see the body shop industry struggling the most? I mean, I can tell you on my end, because we have so many dealer partners, and it's something I'm passionate about, is trying to help efficiencies on the detailing side.
Yeah.
And then I also see opportunities within the body shop side, because it's kind of the same struggles, just two different. You have a prep and start world, and then you have a finish out world, right?
Yeah.
So do you see that we continue to have within the industry just ongoing issues? And then what are we doing about that?
Well, the biggest issue is that body shop procedures in general, I'm not talking about painting cars, but talking about sanding and polishing the part of cars, backwards. They're really backwards. Like
cheap materials, cheap products.
Yeah, and procedures that were used in the 1950s. It's so grabbing onto new technology and new ways of doing things is just not something the body shop industry is good at. They're just, as a whole collective, as a whole community, they just don't tend to grab for the latest and greatest like detailers do. Detailers, they're drawn to that, latest shiny object. They're like, what's
because everybody's ADD, right?
I know. Yeah. So what's the best and latest thing?
But do you think that there's some psychology behind that we are the final brushstroke, so to speak, and we want that recognition, or we seek that recognition because we're able to transform something, whereas the body shop guys, it's like a line cook, right? You're plating stuff, but it's only the chef that gets to sign off on it and wipe the plate down and send it out, right? So do you think that maybe there's the reason we haven't really changed or adapted, at least on the body shop side, is because it's just not exciting work?
Well, I think it can be, and there are some techs in the body shop where it is very exciting and they're all into it. But I think it's a cultural thing, and it goes way back to owners of body shops and managers of body shops and the whole insurance industry, because everybody views that guy in the body shop that's sanding and polishing. They view that guy as, oh, it's an unnecessary evil. It's something we kind of have to do. Because, I mean, let's face this, if you think, and you guys are involved in body shops, the painting process, the refinishing process on a car is not perfect. And it's imperfect enough that it requires a guy, after the painter lays the paint on the car, now it requires another person that has to fix defects from the painting process. So the painting process is not perfect and complete enough where you don't need that guy. We haven't gotten there.
I wish we would.
Yeah. So
It'd make life much easier.
Everybody views that guy like, oh man, we got to sand and polish. And actually, insurance companies are trying not to pay for that process. They view it as a flaw. Like, you painted a car, somebody has to fix it before we deliver it to the customer, so we're not going to pay for that. So there's this whole, cultural
and we could go down a
attitude
huge rabbit hole with insurance and bad quality work and diminishing return and values on cars. Whereas in what we do, we're trying to add value, right? We're trying to refine. We're trying to tap into the emotional side of why you have a car. Right, and it's not a fit for everybody, but again, there's another rabbit hole we can go down.
For sure. But there's just going back to the big differences. So in Western Europe, like, I just spent this whole week in Dallas, and I have a really good idea of the whole community and body shops in Dallas, and it's very, very different. It's dramatically different from Western Europe. The labor rates are so high in Western Europe that there's no such thing as a redo. If they have to repaint a car because of a defect, then they did something really wrong, and it's a very expensive redo, to where the profitability on that car just got blown out of the water.
So do it right the first time.
It has to be done right the first time. And in order to make it done right the first time, there's an expensive guy. They have to be certified and trained. They need the best equipment, the best knowledge, the best skills, the best procedures, so that it's done right the first time. And, another big difference, sorry, we're going down this rabbit hole, but in Europe, they only spot nib sand. They do 1 inch to 2 inch size sanding as a post procedure after paint's applied. That's the norm over there. If they have to sand a whole panel, somebody did something really wrong, because they learned how to paint out of the gun. They learned how to match texture for adjacent panels. Which,
as you know, here, you go to most body shops, and I may get some flack for this, but people don't know how to match texture.
No.
And it makes our job much harder.
You got to sand, you got to polish.
You got to sand, which adds a lot more labor. And so
for example, the ratio, we visited 22 shops while we were here, and only one out of 22 had a painter that could match texture out of the gun.
That's crazy.
All the other ones.
There's a lot of bad work floating around there.
Yeah. This is the big difference between, Western Europe and here.
So it sounds to me, I hate to use the word pride in what you do, but there is a sense of pride in what you do. And I think it goes back to one part of insurance, right? I think it goes back to we are a culture of volume. And I think that artisan aspect of what we do gets lost, whether it's body shop or detailing side. And I know, because I've been to enough of your trainings, you have some different philosophies and different lanes, and we'll kind of get to this here shortly, but if you're looking to get into the industry, what lane do you want to be in? What part of this works for you?
Yeah.
And there's some quick and easy solutions for volume, and then there's other ones that take time, and the compensation looks different. But
yeah.
so you and I met years ago. Well, actually, I met you a long time ago at several trainings, but you had 20, 30, 40 people that you were, educating. But I think you and I really kind of hit it off 3 years ago when I was out there in Colorado and brought the team.
Yeah.
And I shared with you what our vision was. You saw how our employees were in relation to, other, students, so to speak. What would what were your initial impressions then and now of what we've currently put together of the S Collective?
The S Collective. Cool name, by the way.
Thanks.
I mean, I know what it means behind the scenes, but I think it's just a cool name. How do you add J after that? It's S Collective and J.
We'll give you 2 shares. So.
No, I quickly gravitated to what you guys are doing. I think for a couple of reasons. One is that, look at in the short amount of time what you guys have accomplished here. Mm-hmm. And just the way that you guys talk and the steps you make and the action you take, you're very disruptive to like the normal way things are done. And I kind of like that. That's kind of what I've done in my career of like seeing the way things are done and then let's figure out another way. And I like that you guys do that. And I also like your pace. You're very fast. That can be scary for some people, but
it's really scary sometimes.
Yeah.
My background being in the corporate world, but having done this a majority of my life, I, like yourself, see holes and gaps, and I'm fortunate to have a team and partners that are extremely skilled in identifying other opportunities. Cody, for instance, is a master kind of behind the scenes of putting it all together. And to your point, we move really quick.
Yeah.
And that's a really scary thing for a lot of people. But as I kind of shared with you the other day, we like to consider ourselves kind of mavericks in the industry. Like something needs to happen.
Yeah.
There needs to be some change here. It's been the same routine for 30 years. And I think that's why partnering and working with you guys is exciting, because you're so innovative in the tools and the pads and compounds, but in the same breath, like that's what we're trying to do is be innovative, reinvent the wheel. We want to do it 10 different times before we find something that works.
Right. So I like that about you. The other thing I like about you guys is your appreciation for branding. I like that you guys recognize that a brand has power and a brand can move people, a brand can get people's attention. And not too many people see that, Everybody is affected by brands. We're all consumers and we're all affected by branding. But not too many people can actually see the power of a brand and be able to steer it. And you guys have that, so I like that about you guys. Yeah.
Shared values and vision. So what aspects of the S Collective, and I'll just read, I've got a couple of questions here, and growth resonate with you the most, especially considering your commitment to innovation and excellence at Rupes?
So ask that again.
Yeah, so what aspects of the S Collective's brand, okay, you kind of touched on it a little bit, and growth resonate with you the most? And especially considering your commitment to innovation and excellence at Rupes.
Yeah, so it's the high standard of quality, the high standard of service. And what I mean by that is that you guys are really focused on the overall experience that the customer goes through. Mm-hmm. It's not just doing something to their car. That's not what you guys do. You understand there's a connection between the driver and their car, and you kind of serve that, which I really like a lot. Yeah. Thank
you for picking that up.
Yeah.
That's my territory there, being a sales guy. So based on your experience over all the years, then I've got some fun questions here. what key advice would you have for anybody really looking to get in this industry? Or what do you see, what do you see people make mistakes in? And then what advice would you give people looking to make a career move in doing this line of work?
Ooh, okay. So there's two questions in there. People interested in getting, you mean into detailing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't do it. There's a lot of other things you can. No.
Hire people quickly so you don't
Go
have to
deliver
do the work.
flowers.
Yeah.
I'm joking, but I've enjoyed my whole career, and I wouldn't do anything else. I mean, sometimes I can't believe I get paid, but I wouldn't do anything else. So if you have that calling and you already know that you're drawn to this kind of work, then I would say jump in with both feet, get in there. But my best advice is to educate yourself. Spend a lot of time early, as soon as you can, developing both detailing skills and business skills or customer service skills. Because to be successful in detailing, it's not all about your knowledge of detailing a car. Because I've known some very, very, very good detailers that are not successful. They're terrible business people. And it's unfortunate, but if you're interested in detailing but you know you're not a good business person, then that's where good partnerships happen. You know, collaborate with somebody who has that side of the skill set. You know, and just collaborate. But I would say educate. Go to. And I have a biased opinion because I'm a trainer, but I'm saying go take as many classes as you can and develop your skills.
Well, I think you make a really good point there in the sense that, throughout my career, I've met a lot of amazing detailers that are horrible business owners,
Yeah.
right? So it is about partnering with the right people. It's also about humility. It's also about being transparent.
Yeah.
It's also about being honest with yourself, right? There are a lot of egos in this industry, as
Yeah.
with many industries. And I think it's really important to really learn about yourself, what you're capable of. And you do that through mentorship, you do it through trainings, and figure out what lane you want to be a part of, right? For me, when I set out to do this on my own, I walked away from a corporate job. I knew I wanted to serve a specific audience. And I knew that road was going to be a bumpy road, it was going to be a hard road, and it wasn't going to be fun, I was going to be broke a long time. But I wanted to create a standard, and a standard that, at least in this market, I didn't feel that existed that well. And so, it's been an interesting journey, but I see a lot of these young guys, especially with social media, they're quick to get out of the gate and then it just fizzles out, right?
Yeah,
just
there's a
the
lot of
bottom
that.
falls out.
Actually,
There's no staying power.
The failure rate in detail business is very, very, very high.
What would you say is kind of the biggest reason for that? Just
lack
like
of
running one's business?
People's ego gets in the way, but I think they jump in and they don't plan a business. You know, they just jump in and...
Because it was a hobby, and then they're like, I can make a couple $100 or a couple grand at this.
So a couple other things to say. The other thing I would encourage people to do, and again, I totally have a biased position and I'm upfront about it, but I've volunteered with the International Detailing Association for 15 years now. And detailers can be successful completely 100% and not have anything to do with the IDA. That's a path that exists. People are successful, and nobody needs the IDA. Mm-hmm. But I'm just encouraging people that it's a good path to go because you can get networked. Then there's lots of people in the IDA that are willing to jump in and help out and help you grow and help you understand what it takes to scale up and go to the next step. So I would say join the IDA, get involved, get certified. The other thing I would say is I see a lot of detailers making the mistake, and this goes back to your other question. The most common thing I see detailers doing that is a complete waste of time, and it's an energy suck, is this tendency that detailers have of trying every single compound that exists out there, try every single pad, They're floating from tool to tool. And I would encourage you that, the more you have to try things, okay? You got to try and understand what works for you. But if you've made a full-time job out of
trying things
and then reviewing them on Instagram and sharing, your results,
Let
all
me be
that stuff.
the first to say that I've spent a ton of money over the years trying different things.
Yeah,
And I'm so glad that you guys have this system that you have, because it makes my team's life so much easier.
And that brings it to my next point. So if you're not out there trying every single thing that comes out, I mean, it seems like detailers, every new compound that comes out, they're just,
it's a shiny new
I'm
toy.
going to try this.
Yeah.
And then they're on the Facebook reviewing it and all that, or YouTube videos. If you're spending a lot of time doing that, that is time that is not directly impacting the growth of your business. So all that time exploring and testing and doing all that stuff is, in my opinion, it's not helpful. And so many people do it. They spend a lot of time. And I'm not saying what you said. I'm glad you said it, which is, use the Rupes system, because it is a complete solution. But my point is, find a complete solution, and then take your time. Instead of trying all the rest of the new shiny objects, take the time to develop your skills with that system and get really good at that system.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is going to really help you with efficiency, is if you really know the limits of what a compound does, if you know the limits of what pad can do, and taking the opportunities to shave out steps and not overwork things. Just really learn a system. And if it's not the Rupes one, find a system, find something that works,
right.
And then just stick with it.
I see too many young detailers making those same mistakes,
Yeah.
right? Of not being able to stick to something or getting over their skis. And I can be the first to say, because I've made a lot of those mistakes, there's a trial and error in this industry. But I go back to the system, and it's not just because you're here, but I truly believe in it. My team uses it. I've seen us just in the past 2 years dwindle down to your products, right? And I open the cabinet and I'm like, there it is. And we know it works every single time.
Yeah.
And the fact that you guys designed it that way, it's easy to understand. It's easy for the end user to understand. Makes us way more efficient than we ever have been. It allows for defect removal to happen quickly. Allows us to refine cars out. And with the volume that we move, with the accounts that we have in the retail sector that we have, that is a really important part of our business. If my team's getting hung up on things because the pad's not doing what it needs to, or the machine is stalling out, then we're not efficient.
Yeah.
Right? And I think Rupes has done a great job, and you've done a great job just educating our team in technique and skills, and being able to overcome and adapt and adjust on the fly, which is really important.
Going back to your earlier question, what you're saying, I just was thinking of the differences between American detailers and detailers, for example, in Southeast Asia or Western Europe. In Western Europe, professional detailers, they will get behind a brand and get behind a system, and they're quick to adapt and adopt a system approach. The solution involves a whole brand, a whole system. They're quicker to do that. In Southeast Asia, they love brands. Those detailers are just all about brands. So they will get behind a brand and they'll use all the products from that brand. That's what they do. That is not the American way. So American detailers.
What do you see the American way as?
The American way is pounding your chest saying, I know better.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. I know more than that chemist at that company or whatever. And I'm going to be the one who selects my compound and my favorite pad. And I'm going to be the one who chooses my polisher. So there's a lot of what I call cherry picking. So American detailers take their favorite compound brand ABC, and then they take their favorite pad, a different company, and they're the ones that puts it all together. And the big thing, I'm on a soapbox trying to educate American detailers about. It sounds like I'm just trying to sell the Rupes system, and I'm not a salesperson. I'm a technician. So what I'm trying to raise awareness of American detailers is, hey, here are the facts. It's not my opinion, but here are the facts. When you are polishing on car paint, there are 4 things that create that result when you polish it. There's a tool, some kind of polisher. Mm-hmm. There's a compound, there's a pad, and there's you. Those 4 things are required. You can't take one of those out.
Right.
They are 4 things required to get that result. And I'm trying to get people to understand this, that why not adopt a system where somebody scienced out the synergies between these parts?
Goes back to ego.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. I know better. I'm going to. So it's tough. Actually, our strategy for education is actually tougher in America. It's easier for us in Southeast Asia. All we have to do is show somebody the system, and they're like, cool, sign me up.
Well, I hope that our audience is listening, because I can tell you again, and I sound repetitive, but your system works, right? And I've run through all the compounds, all the polishes, all the pads over the years. And I'd be lying if I said I still didn't have 1 or 2 little off brands on special projects.
Yeah.
Right. But when my guys tell me we need a reorder of this, and I can just go hit a button, and I know that I've got 4 compounds, right?
Yeah.
Stuff for rotary and stuff for DA.
Right.
And I've got those 4 specific products, and I got 4 different pads, and that, from an owner aspect, keeps things so simple.
So clean.
Right?
It's clean.
Like,
yeah.
I know what my expenses are every month. I know what my product usage is. I know how much material my guys are going through. Whereas, with other products and other manufacturers, that's not always the case. And speaking to those who are owner operators, knowing how much product you're using on a regular basis is really important, especially when you're managing your bottom line. What are you grossing monthly or annually? So,
and here's weird advice from a representative of a manufacturer that makes products that we hope people use. Most detailers use way too much compound.
Too much.
They hose it on way too thick, and it doesn't mean better. More is not better, especially with our system. Our system is formulated to be used with a small amount of compound. If you hose it on, you don't get better performance, you get worse performance.
Yeah, same thing with speed. I mean, how many new guys or gals get into the industry and they crank that machine up to 6?
Yeah.
Because they saw somebody on Instagram or YouTube slaying paint, at 6,000 RPM.
Right, yeah.
There's a place for it. It just doesn't really exist all the time.
Yeah.
And so... Jason, I've got a couple of fun questions, if you don't mind entertaining. You ready?
I think so.
They're not crazy, I promise. All right. So now, being an OCD fanatic about my car being clean, and I know you live in Colorado, what do you do during the winter months? Does that not drive you crazy? How do you keep your car remotely clean during the winter months?
I'm not.
Or is it just that
I'm
it's
not
impossible?
that guy that has my trucks like super clean all the time. In fact, my Jeep is one example of a vehicle I drive when I'm not camping or going into the mountains and driving on Jeep trails. When I'm driving around town, I'm one of those guys that I'm driving with a smile on my face, and I'm prideful that there's dirt on the car. Mm-hmm. So to me, the dirt on a Jeep just seems like it belongs there.
Right. All right, so that brings me to my next question. Daily driver. What's your current daily driver?
I've actually honed this down. At one time, as you can imagine, you have too many project cars.
Yes, I just thinned the herd.
Yeah, I thinned mine down. But I bounce back and forth between 2 trucks. I have a full-size... No Toyotas.
I would have pegged you as a Toyota guy.
Total Jeep guy. I've been a Jeep guy my whole life. So my very first car that I ever owned was a 1994 Jeep Wrangler, and I still have it.
Good for you.
I bought it.
What color?
It was blue, but it's now painted burgundy.
Okay.
And I painted it burgundy for McGuire's colors actually when I was at McGuire's. Because I
Nice.
used it at truck shows and showed
Manual,
off.
I presume.
Automatic.
Ah,
No manual.
show's over. Show is over.
You can't. I'm a rock
It's hard to
crawling guy.
do. Yeah, it's hard to have a manual in the mountains.
When you're teetering on rocks and stuff, the manual just is a little bit tricky. So I did automatic for that reason, and I'm glad I did because I can do some crazy rock crawling stuff and not have to think about how many different pedals to push.
So being in Colorado, what do you feel about the new Scout? Have you seen it? It's like hybrid EV. I think it has a generator in the back, if I read that correctly. I could be completely roasted here in a minute online for this, but
I'm not a fan. I'm
so not
very
into the
old school.
EV?
I'm not even into the new Jeeps. So I go with Jeep clubs where the brand new Jeeps are out there with their computer controlled electronic traction control and all that stuff. And I'm watching what these wheels are doing. You know, the wheel spin, and I guess I'm too old school about it. I want to have the lever with the gear that I can actually feel. It goes into gear, and then I can
You're an
feel the
analog
tire.
guy. Us old guys like buttons and switches, right? Not fancy electronics.
But I like to feel the traction of the tire. Because when I drive, that's how I've been doing it for years. So I can be teetering on rocks and about to roll, and I can be confident because I can feel the traction of the tire, and I know I'm going to power through. But with these new trucks that are all electronic, and they're actually thinking and moving power from wheel to wheel, and it drives me crazy just watching somebody else do it. And I've driven the brand new Jeeps. I'm like, nope, that's not for me.
All right, if I gave you a bag of cash, what car would you go buy with it? I said you could go buy your dream car. What would it be?
That's an interesting question.
Are you a classic Ferrari guy, or are you a Porsche individual?
No, I'm not.
It's just all trucks, SUVs.
Yeah.
So 56 Chevy type, or no, off road mainly.
Let's see. If you gave me a bunch of cash, I could buy anything I want. I think I would buy an older Jeep, but a V8, with a lot of transmission power that I can pull an off-road trailer with. Mostly because that's just what I don't have now. I have this '94 Jeep that's got a 3-speed automatic tranny from 1994
Right.
and it does great off-road on rock crawling. But when it pulls my off-road trailer, I can get out and walk faster. It's super slow. I think I would buy an old Jeep, and I would buy one that had a V8 swap.
Okay.
And
I'll
some
take that.
really good gears, and yeah, that's what I would do.
All right.
When am I getting this money?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah. So, and then we'll just kind of end it on this. And Jason, we greatly appreciate you being here. But tell the viewers one interesting fun fact about yourself, or if you want to leave something for our viewers.
Interesting. Oh, I mean, what came to mind? Because a lot of people equate my name, my reputation, everything I've done with detailing. But here's an interesting thing that kind of surprises some people. Early in my career, I actually gave a darn, and I cared about shiny cars. I was a detailer, and I cared enough that I perfected that skill to the best of my ability, and I made lots of cars shiny. Why? Because I cared about doing that and helping car owners have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere in my career, that shifted dramatically, and fast forward to now, a lot of people are surprised to hear that I don't really care about shiny cars. I don't care if the universe has one more shiny car in it. I honestly don't care. What I've come to care mostly about is
the online world just imploded hearing that, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So,
Everybody's
Jason Rose, no, he doesn't want a shiny car.
What I care more about now is the people, and I care about helping other people make cars shiny. Care about that more. But behind making cars shiny, there's a whole other world. There's other energy, other interest, other values, and I'm more trying to tap into that stuff. You know,
You
I
think
just care
that
about
comes
helping
part
people.
with just all your experience and your age?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I want to help people have lifestyles that they dream about and what they want. You know, I want people to have the lifestyle. And what's cool about detailing now compared to decades ago is being a millionaire, having the life you dream of. It's so possible right now. I know people that are doing it.
I remember detailing 20 plus years ago, and you had a few tools, a few products, and that was it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a good marketer, if you're a good online person, and you happen to be good at business and detailing, you can make a ton of money, right?
Yeah, and you can have a lifestyle that, you know, the house you want on the lake, the nice cars, put your kids through college. I mean, all that stuff, it's so doable with detailing now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, Jason, thank you again for your time. It's always a pleasure having you out here. We're going to leave you with a little parting gift here. So on behalf of my team and I, we're giving you an S Collective hat.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hopefully it fits, and you wear it well out there in the mountain ranges in your V8 Jeep.
I appreciate
so,
you. I appreciate
thank you,
you.
Jason.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you for being a part of the podcast and what we
My
do
pleasure.
here. So,
Thanks.
yeah, absolutely.